Okay, let's see if we want to. Okay, so Hare Krishna Prabhujis. So we
Hare
kind of had
Krishna.
2 weeks break. Last
Yeah,
couple of weeks
yeah.
I was on tour. So we are reading from chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. So let's recap quickly. So here Arjuna asks some questions that he wants to know: what is Brahman, what is self, Kim Brahma, Kim
Mhm.
Adhyatmam, Kim Karma, and what is karma, what are fruitive activities, and what is material manifestation, Kim Adhibhutam, cha Kim Proktam, Adidaivam Kim Uchyate, and Adhibhutam is what are the demigods. And then he says, who is Adhiyagni or the Lord of Sacrifice, and how does this live in this body, O Madhusudan, and how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Prayana kale chakatam neyosi niyat atmabhi. So in the next two verses, Arjuna, Lord Shri Krishna answers all the questions except for the last question, that is how one can think of Lord Shri Krishna at the time of death, and what happens, what is the destination of person based on how he thinks at the time of death. So first he gives answers that the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahman. So basically the spiritual nature is called Brahman, and its eternal nature is called Adhyatma or the self. And all activities which create or develop another material body are called karma. So karma is something that we are doing which by which we are creating next material body. So actions pertaining to the development of material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. This is the one of the definitions of karma given here. And
Yeah.
then the physical nature is called adhibhuta, which is constantly changing, which is also called kshara, which is changing. And uh, the universal form of the Lord, which includes the demigods, like those of sun, moon, Indra, Chandra, Varuna. So all these are called Adidaiva. So which are basically controlling the affairs of this universal material universe. And the Supreme Lord, who is living in the as the Paramatma in everybody's heart, is also the super soul, and he is called the Adiyagni or the Lord of Sacrifice. So he is the ultimate Lord of Sacrifice, or who is the beneficiary of all the sacrifices. As in the 5th chapter, also Krishna says in the last chapter, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that I am the enjoyer, Bhokta, of all the yagnas and tapa, all the sacrifices and all the penances or austerities that is done. I am the ultimate supreme enjoyer of everything. And here also he says that Adhyagnya, he is also called Adhyagnya. So Adhishtata of all the yagnas, he is the supreme enjoyer of all the yagnas, Lord of sacrifice. And then he continues with the last question, and then the rest of the chapter he continues more describing about what happens, or the particularly uh, the consciousness of a person at the time of death, what determines it, and how it determines his next destination after giving up this body. So here in the 5th verse, he says, Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati sa mad bhavam yati na asti atra samshaya. That whoever at the end of life quits his body, remembering me alone, Antakalecha mam eva smaran muktva. He attains my nature, mad bhavam. Of this there is no doubt. Yati asti na samshaya. And then he says that yam yam vapi smaran bhava tajatyante kalevaram, that whatever one is thinking at the time of death, whatever thought he has, that type of nature, that type of body he will attain for sure. So whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So here he uses asamshaya, nasti atra samshaya. That means there is no doubt about this. Of this, there is no doubt. Here also it says that without fail. And then further he says in the 7th verse, then one should remember always of me. But how can one remember? Can he do only at the time of death? So that is not possible. That's why all the time you should be performing your duty, because as long as you are in this material world, you have a specific duty that you have to perform. You should continue performing that, and also always think of me. And how to perform duty, that we learned in third chapter also, that yajnarthat karmani anyatra lokoyam karma bandhani, that you should always perform every activity as sacrifice to Vishnu. Otherwise, every activity creates bandhan in this world, karma bandhan. So therefore he is saying, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, all the time, mam anusmara yuddhacha. You should think of me all the time, and at the same time perform your material duty or the prescribed duty. Now, in this case, Arjuna's duty is of fighting, because he is on the battlefield and he is a Kshatriya, and he so on the battlefield, for a duty of Kshatriya is to fight. So he says you should perform your duty, but always think of me. So therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. And then with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me of this. There is no doubt, without doubt. So again, he is using the word without doubt. Okay. And then last week, or the couple of weeks ago, what we read, then he says, you should think of me. Then how can one think? What is the destination, and how can one think of him? Lord Shri Krishna, that's what he is describing in next few verses. So he who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, O Partha, is sure to reach me. So he is again giving him assurance that one who is always thinking of me, he is guaranteed to come back to the spiritual world to me. Now, how can we think of him? So that's what in next couple of verses he's saying. So one may, if we don't have enough information about who God is or what his nature is like, then it's difficult for us to think of him, right? So he's giving his information, how one can think of Krishna, or what are his qualities that one may think of all the time. So this is the verse that we are going to read today. So let's repeat after me. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam.
हा म जो आहे ना इथे देवनागरीत लिहिलेला, इट इज ऍक्च्युअली हाफ म हिअर, रूपम. सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम.
सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम.
And then here this one starts with Aditya. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Let's do one more time. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya.
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
We can take a couple of recitations. How about Chandrakant Prabhu, you want to lead?
Kavim Puranam Manushasitaram
Kavim Puranam Manusasitaram
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredhya
Anoraniyam Samarasmaredya
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam
Sarvasya Radhā-Rañjana
Rupam
Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat
Adityavarnam Tamasa Parastat.
Kavim Puranam Nushasitaram
Kavim Puranam Manushasitaram
Anoriniyam Samanusmaredya
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredhya
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam
Adityavarna Tamasa Parastat.
Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat.
Thank you, Rajesh Prabhu. So let's do the synonyms or word for word translation. Kavim means somebody who is intelligent or one who knows everything. Puranam means the oldest. So here we are learning about some qualities that Krishna tells about himself, how we can think of. So he's telling Arjuna that you should always think of me. So how we can think of him, how Arjuna can think of him. So Puranam means the oldest. Anushasitaram means the controller, Anushasan, Karna.
Yes.
Then Anoha means then the atom. Aniyam Sama means smaller. So smaller than atom. Anusmaret, always think of. Ya, one who. Sarvasya means of everything. Dhataram means maintainer, dhata. Achintya means inconceivable. One we can even not think of.
Unimaginable.
Yeah, unimaginable. Yeah, thank you. Rupam means whose form. Aditya Varnam, luminous like sun. Tamasa, to the darkness. Parastat means transcendental. Para means beyond our material conception of life. So, translation and purport by His Grace, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, one who meditates upon the Supreme Person as one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest. So, this is Kavim, and this is Purana, one who is oldest, who is the controller, Anushasan Karnara, Anushasitaram, one who is smaller than the smallest, Anoraniyan Sama, and then one who is the maintainer of everything, Dhataram, one who is beyond all material conception, Achintyam, or what is this? Anoraniyam, Anusmaridya, Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam, and one who is inconceivable, who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, Aditya Varnam, and he is the transcendental beyond this material nature. Tamasa Parastat. So this is how Krishna is saying that how can we think of God or think of Krishna? So he is giving us qualities. Oh, we should think of him one who is knower of everything, who knows everything. We read in the previous chapter, right? Krishna says in the 7th chapter, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kasyana. That I know what is past, what is happened in the past, what is happening right now, what is will happen in the future, Bhavishyani, and this of all the Bhutani, all the living entities. Everybody, I knows everything. But Mam tu Vedana Kashan, but nobody knows me. So here, when he is saying that Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Iddacha in 7th verse, then he is giving the ways how one can think of him. So how can we think of him? One we can think of a person, God, as one who knows everything. He is the oldest, but he is always very youthful. Oldest, our conception of oldest is somebody who is very old, like 100-year-old man. He is very he cannot talk, he cannot think properly. No, he is not oldest like that. He is the oldest, but he is always young.
Yeah.
Who is the controller? But for whom there is no controller? Who is the controller of everything? Who is smaller than the smallest? Now, from the material conception of life, we know that atom is the smallest.
Correct.
There is nothing beyond smaller than atom that we can know of, Anu. But he is Anoranyam Sama. He is smaller than the atom because he is the one who enters in every atom and then energizes it. Even the soul, when we say that he is in our heart, he says actually in the scripture where I think in the Bhagavatam or somewhere, it is said that when we say that Krishna is in our heart, he is in the heart of the soul, not the heart of the physical body. Even he says in the region of the heart, but the soul is there and Krishna is inside it as Paramatma. So he is the one who energizes everything as Paramatma. He is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception and who is inconceivable. His form is beyond our imagination, but he has a form. He is not formless. Only thing is he has a spiritual form, not a form like material form that we can think of. And he's always a person. And he's Aditya Varnam. He's luminous like sun, because sun also gets energy from him. Actually, in the 11th chapter, when he shows his Virat Roop or Vishwaroop to Arjuna, Arjuna says that what he is seeing Krishna in his Virat Roop is something like when the thousands of suns will rise together. Now, when we look at sun, can we see at sun continuously in the sky? No, we cannot, right? We cannot even see directly to sun for few seconds. It is so bright. But imagine thousands of sun at the same time. And that's what Arjuna compares when he sees Krishna's Virat Roop in the 11th chapter. So he is Aditya Varnam, luminous like sun, and he is to the darkness, he is transcendental, Parastat, beyond this material conception. He is Para, Divya. So that's what he's talking about. So let's read the purport, and then probably it's pretty much self-explanatory, and we will see what Prabhupada is mentioning here. Rajesh Anantaraman Prabhu, do you want to read the purport?
Yes. Yes. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated here. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or Krishna, he is what he is. What he is like is described in this verse of BhagavadGita. The Lord is Kavi. That is, he knows the past, present, future, and therefore knows everything. He is the oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of him. He is also the supreme controller of the universe. And he is the maintainer and instructor of humanity. He is smaller than the smallest. The living entity is 1/10,000th part of the tip of a hair. But the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this part. Therefore, he is called smaller than the smallest. As the Supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as a super soul. Although so small, he is still all-pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word achintya is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable. Achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual. So how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. Therefore, intelligent persons avoiding useless argument and speculation should accept what is stated in scriptures like the Vedas, BhagavadGita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and follow the principles they set down. This will lead one to understanding.
Thank you very much, Rajesh Prabhu. So pretty much it gives the description what Krishna is meaning to say, and Prabhupada explains it very nicely. And he gives some references here. So first of all, Lord is called Purusha. So this is the same understanding Arjuna also has. In the 10th chapter, he explains that Arjuna's understanding, he says that Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashwatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibham. So this is what Arjuna says to Krishna, that this is what I am understanding as you. You are the Param Brahma, you are the Supreme Brahma. So Brahman is the spiritual energy or the living entities, but he is the Supreme Brahman, and Param Dhama, you are also the supreme abode of everything. And you are the purest, Pavitram. And Paramam, you are the supreme. And then he says that you are a supreme enjoyer, you are a person. And what type of person? Shashwatam, who is eternal.
Forever.
Divyam, who is transcendental. Adidevam, so you are the original supreme personality of God, him. Ajam, who has never taken birth. And Vibhum, who are the supreme, ultimate, greatest. Vibhum is the greatest. So this is what Arjuna's understanding about Krishna is, and he is what explaining. And then based on this, it's not that he is saying this to Krishna because he is his friend, so he is kind of saying all the good things about him. No, he's backing up by what? Ahustam Rushes Sarve Devarshir Nadastata. That about you, Ahu, about you, all the great sages, Rishaya, Sarve, they also say the same thing. Who? Devarshi Narada also, the great sage Narada also say the same thing about you, that you are the greatest person. Then he names some more great sages, that Asita, Devala, Vyasa. They also mention about you the same thing, that you are the supreme, inconceivable personality, who you are the greatest person. And then Swayam cha eva bravishime. And then you yourself are also telling me the same thing. So this is what is Arjuna's understanding when he is hearing Bhagavad Gita. And if our understanding is not in alignment with what Arjuna's understanding here is, or in the rest of the chapter, then our understanding of Bhagavad Gita is incomplete.
Right.
Yeah. Then we are not understanding Bhagavad Gita. We are, in the name of Bhagavad Gita, we are just pushing our own understanding. So here also he says that Lord Krishna is the supreme. He himself is saying that how one can think of him. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredya. And then he is always a person. So here Prabhupada clearly stated that the foremost point in this is that he is not impersonal or void. He is a person. Because most of the religions, or even the so-called Mayavadi Hindus, they think that God has no form. And they say that, oh, you meditate on some light, or you meditate on some void, that is meditation. But here, again and again in all the scriptures, it is said that Krishna says, you should meditate on me, as in the form of Paramatma. We read in the 6th chapter, when Krishna says that you should go and sit in the kusha grass, the seat should not be way too high or too low. You should focus on your tip of the nose, and then you should meditate on me, the form of me in your heart as Paramatma. Or even in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says that the dhyan, the greatest of the sages, they meditate on me in as in the heart, in their heart as Paramatma. So what to meditate on is not something on void, is always on the person. Because even for us, when we think of something, we always think of, when I say table, that something comes to your mind is the image of the table, whatever table you can think of.
Right.
Without having the table, if I tell you, oh, just think of some imaginary thing, it's very hard for us to think which has no form or something. And so
Correct.
here also, Lord Krishna also says that you think of me, because we cannot meditate on something that is impersonal. So one cannot meditate on something that is impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking Krishna, however, is very easy and factually stated here. And that's why Lord is Purusha, or a person. So we can think of Ram, we can think of Krishna, we can think of Narsingha, we can think of Chaitanya
In any
Mahaprabhu.
of his rupam.
Yes, Prabhu?
In any of his rupam, I say.
Yeah, any form. And he says that you can think of in any form, because the way you develop some relationship with him, I reciprocate with him as is. So if you think of Ram and you want to devote your life to Ram, that is also fine. Hanumanji is great devotee of Ram. So even when he sees Krishna, but his more relationship, or what do you call, the bhakti is towards Prabhu Ramchandra. So he's always attracted towards Ramchandra. So there's nothing wrong about that. So that's what he says. And whether you think of Ram or Krishna or other form, same thing. Prahlad Maharaj is more attracted to Lord Nrsimhadev. Yeah. So, and then he confirms all the things, qualities what we have. He's Kavi, means he knows everything. Then he is also the maintainer of everything, and instructor of whole humanity, not just Hindu culture. So when we say God is not for only Hindus or Christians or Muslim or anything. No, for him, all the living entity. And in Bhagavad Gita, it is not in a single verse, it is said that this scripture is only for Hindus or only for the people born in India or something like that. No. He says this is for whole humanity. Or even Krishna says that Pita aham asya jagato, that I am the father of this whole creation. So everything in the creation is his children. Be he say himself as Muslim or Christian or Jew or Sikh or Hindu, it doesn't matter. Or forget about only humans. He says that all the living entities are born of me. Bijoham sarva bhutanam. In the 7th chapter, we read that. So it doesn't matter. So Bhagavad Gita is not for only Hindus. That's general misconception we have worldwide. It is for the whole humanity, and Krishna is the supreme Lord for everybody. And that is confirmed by all the great acharyas and everything. Even in the scripture, what is the Sikh Guru Granth Sahib probably. So in there also somebody quoted a verse where it says that Krishna is the supreme Lord, and in their stories also there is descriptions of Ram and Krishna, and they read about it. But they worship Guru, that Granth Sahib, as their God, Guru Granth Sahib. So it's, and then, so he's smaller than the smallest. The size of we read in the 2nd chapter that the size of the soul is given. Keshabre shatabhagasya shatadha kalpitasya cha. So when the tip of the hair is divided into 100 pieces, and each of those pieces further divided into 100 pieces, so that is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair, that is the size of the soul. But Krishna says that he can be smaller than the smallest, and he is pervading everything. So that Prabhupada describes here. And then again, the inconceivable word you will probably hear about Krishna everywhere, because he is beyond our imagination. We cannot imagine about his form or anything. And that's why Achintya, he is Achintya, we cannot think of this. And that's why we have to read this description, what he says about himself in Bhagavad Gita. And based on that, we can understand. And the more and more we surrender, he reveals us more and more. And therefore, the real intelligent persons, they don't get into unnecessary argument about Krishna or how God is and who God is. They accept the scriptures. So all the Vedic literatures, including Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all the Upanishads, all the 4 Vedas, and all the 18 Puranas, everything are written so that we can understand little bit about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how we will lead to understanding about who God is and what he is. So that's what he is mentioning here. So any thoughts, Prabhuji?
Namaskar, Prabhuji. Hello.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear Rajesh Prabhu.
Yes. So this verse gives completely, I can say the means length and breadth, complete. Which you cannot measure, but that's what is God is in detail. I mean, it's the smallest of smallest form to the biggest of energy. And it is true, you cannot conceive, you cannot imagine the energies at a very large scale, actually. This is beyond our conception. And that is true. I mean, that some maintainer is there because all these things which are maybe floating in space, and they are following their routine periodically, precisely, I can say, and the things are happening, and a maintainer is there. So that is God, actually. This is or a smallest thing what they have said, if you take atom, or inside atom there are electrons, and these electrons further rotate. So there is a energy which is present there, and that energy, I mean, the presence of God is seen, I mean, there also. So it is very true. I mean, it is a beyond imagination of a mankind, a human mind, rather, I can say. And in this universe, I mean, overall, we are very, very, very small, I can say, micro nano entity, actually. And so the maintainer, the God, I mean, this verse shows the greatness of the God. I mean, how big and this. And this another thing is very important. It is said that if you are meditating, or it has come before, the God is in the proper form. They have told. This is not formless. As you said, in many in the sense, some other religions, it is considered God is a formless, but it is not formless. That is a one thing we can take it from this. It is form of a Purusha. I mean, one worship the God in the name of Lord Krishna, Rama, Narsimha, Datta. So this is a takeaway. I mean, this verse gives a complete idea about what God is actually. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that's very nice reflection. Any other thoughts, Prabhuji?
I think Rajesh Prabhu summarized it very well.
Yeah, very nice.
He touched all the points, actually. Yeah, most important, I think, that there is a form. It's not a void kind of, which we can take it and understand that, okay, it is not a formless, and we need to have some form before we start meditating.
No, it is always a wonder what maintains this actually. I mean, it is on a bigger scale, all planets and all. And Earth is a very, very, I can say, minute. Like Earth is in a room full of air. In one corner, one star, and in that, a very, very small dust particle. It's, I mean, you can see the presence of Earth is like that. Okay. Comparative to the universe, I can say. Big hall, and in that hall, water, air particles. So, to give just the idea. So, what maintains all those things is the answer is here actually. There is a maintainer, and then you can imagine the energy of that and the powers of that maintainer. And the other thing is all pervading actually. It is not that bigger level, it is at the very smallest level is also there. That is a takeaway.
Exactly. He is beginningless and endless.
Yes, yeah.
So even when you talk of a void, the void is him.
Yes.
Even that void that people talk of, even that is him. Why we have to meditate on a form is because we are capable of that. He is beginningless, he is endless. So you can't visualize the whole thing.
Yes.
So we have to perforce meditate on something that we know, something that we can. And that is any form of his. It is impossible to, think of a void because that is also him. But what in that void are you going to focus on?
But I tell you, my come across some videos. One of my Muslim friend had shown about. So talking about the Lord and God, where here we say he is a Purusha, he has a definite form. One should meditate on that. In Quran, they says he is a formless. Their God there, and I feel lot of things have been taken from our scriptures actually, the meaning and this thing, and they have developed further on that. Okay, the videos and all those things, and he is the maintainer. If you see, I was having that. He is the Lord of the world. He is the Lord of the smallest of things. Same thing is written there. Okay.
Correct.
All those things written in the sense the propaganda is there like that actually. And while seeing that propaganda, I mean, what is left out is only this form of the God. They have not put it, but they have copied everything. It looks like that actually.
See, the thing is, there is a verse in our scriptures which describes God as formless, colorless, shapeless. Nirgun.
Nirgun.
They have picked up the Nirgun, that's all. For some reason, they don't think that Allah can be visualized in a picture. That is a shortcoming in that religion. But it is an offshoot. See, even Hindu was not there. If you look at Narayana's beginning. Who was there? People were there, yes. But who formed there was nothing like Hindu. The BhagavadGita is for all eternity. There was no Hindu at that time. Whoever was there was Sanatani. And Sanatani is what it should be. The Hindu is a later construct. So if you look at, there are people who say you should, look at a void, and that void also is Narayana. There is nothing, no empty space, no vacuum, no oxygenated space, no hydrogenated. That is beyond him. He is everywhere. He is everything. Which is why our religion is that way better. It tells you that for bhakti, you need a form. Use any of the forms. When you come to that, we will see. Nobody, even people who saw his Vishwarupam, saw only his Vishwarupam. He is even beyond. So people like Bhishma and others understood They didn't get dazzled. All the others in the court couldn't even look at it. It was so effulgent, so bright, so brilliant that they all had to shut their eyes. Or rather, their eyes got shut because of the glare or the effulgence. So all these religions that have come have been some kind of a copy. Another real fact is all these things have come for a cause, a commercial cause, in some way or the other. In our religion, I should not say even religion, in our dharma, it was never used as a discipline. It was a love of God that didn't permit people to make those kind of sins, which the others are. Whereas the others have used those as a binding force. There is nowhere in Sanatana Dharma talk of Narak or Surak.
No, there is actually, but it is because Sanatana Dharma it covers everything, right? Sanatana Dharma is all inclusive. So it is for all levels of people. Only thing is, because so it is for, like, in the 17th chapter, Arjuna asked that what happens somebody, because if doesn't have Shraddha, so Shraddha can also mean three modes of nature, Satogun, Rajogun, Tamogun, and this Sanatana Dharma instructions are for all levels of people. So but something instruction given for a person who is in Tamogun is not necessarily exactly similar applicable to one in Satogun. A Satogun person will have a higher instruction because he is supposed to be elevated that time to Satogun. So for him, the instruction may seem opposite to that of one in Tamogun. And that's why the instructions, if you see, the instructions also were given to the people for so-called other religions. They were appropriate at that time. It is said in the Shastra, Desha Kala Patra means the time, place, circumstances, and the ability of understanding of that particular person. Based on that, the instructions are given. So the instructions, if you see in our Vedic scriptures, the instruction, if you see the instruction given to Arjuna here, this is transcendental knowledge. This is Arjuna, Krishna immediately starts talking about soul and super soul, and you are not this body, and whatever happiness, distress you are thinking, it is like seasons, and it is, you have to tolerate this. He's not giving him any mundane instruction, because he knows the person who is standing in front of him is very intelligent. He will understand this. But similar way, the instructions given to people by, say, in the Middle Eastern countries, the instruction was given him, oh, you should take at least once bath in a week. So imagine what kind of people you are dealing with. You should at least not have sex with your brother, mother and sister. So for such abominable persons, you need instructions of that kind.
Correct.
What would they understand about soul and super soul and this thing? They if they are not even living a clean life, who are required to be instructed to take bath in once a week, what instructions you will give to them? Or the instruction that, oh, thou shalt not kill. So please stop killing animals. This is kind of instruction that somebody has to give in the form of Jesus. You should not steal, love thy neighbor. So these are basic instructions that are required for people of that kind. And Jesus also said in the Bible that, oh, I have so much information to tell you, but you will not understand it. So Jesus has this all information. But he, even for the small thing what he was trying to give, he was crucified. And in the name of Jesus, now they are doing all the blunders. So that's why the instruction for them also was given probably proper at that time, because that's what their ability to understand was. But if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, the instruction given by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, is when you read Bhagavatam, if we try to understand, it is beyond our conception. It is very highest information we can get. It gives all the creation. It gives all the how the planets are created, how the time is created, how soul gets different bodies, what type of bodies he might get, what is the birth, what 27 types of narakas are there, why would a person go in each of the different narakas, hellish planets. This is all information. This is very high level information, and people like us or people like who are very degraded, they have no ability to understand this. This is like a PhD level information. We cannot teach to elementary kids.
No, this actually this shows how we were advanced in all our spiritual matters. Actually, the long back, I mean, 8,000 years back.
Oh, this is eternal knowledge.
Eternal knowledge, and we have gone to that depth actually. When you read the history of other countries, actually, their history you will find something around 1700 and after, like that. Australia and all, 1770, that James Cook has come and then it has started their history. They started writing about that. Okay, so I just wonder, so why 7070? Actually, we have since when in our general first standard to fourth standard history books also we have a history going back to Cholas and very first century to beyond that actually, and all of it. So but that shows also that we were quite an advanced race on that that time actually as a humankind.
This is our real history actually. This is because we know Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. Mahabharata is our history. Mahabharata means greater India.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. These 18 chapters are nothing but a small section of Mahabharata.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we are so dumb. I'm sorry to say that we don't want to read this. And in the name of this, we can say all the wrong things without even having real knowledge or ability to understand this.
That way, I can say ISKCON is doing quite a great work actually.
Oh,
at least spreading the message, and now people are getting convinced, understanding this, and getting knowledgeable on this.
This is any intelligent,
Fantastic.
open-minded person will at least think of this. He may or may not accept it completely, but this will blow his mind.
Yes.
And that's why in ISKCON, you see all over the world, so many intelligent people have taken up this knowledge and they are studying and they are appreciating this.
Exactly. See, that is why I see many people who are into the spiritual practices. Take from Swaminarayan temple to ISKCON to any others. There are people with doctorates, higher doctorates who are, multiple doctorates who are joining these. Because at the end of it all, the proof of the pudding, boltat na, Bhagavad Gita, if you practice, you will see the benefit.
Correct.
Quran, if you practice, you see nothing, you see jihad. I mean, as an example, nothing derogatory to any of them because
that was needed probably that time. Yeah, we don't know enough about it.
No, and they are lower level manuals, I will call.
Yeah.
See, Mansala Samjel, what is the best part of our Sanatana Dharma is that it has been a single syllabus, whether you want to be a doctorate or you want to be a bhakta. That is how the Vedas have been written. You want the quantum theory, it is there in the Rig Veda. You want, in fact, the distance to the sun is given in the Hanuman Chalisa. For what good reason? People who have the inclination can, but it was a single syllabus. So we were so highly evolved. And it is not that all of us were brilliant. तो ठीक है ना तुम लेकिन करोगे तो अच्छा भलाई के पाथ पे चलोगे. You follow this, you will not do wrong things. This was the basic condition. We have never used religion to control people. All other religions are using people or
But-
using it to control, which is more
But you
political than.
see this, Rajesh Prabhu, actually you see this since the Indian diaspora is growing all around the world actually. Indian way of living is a very stable and mild way, I can say, and a very accommodative way of life actually.
Correct.
Closer to the culture, closer to the, and people are level-headed and gentle actually.
No, but unfortunately, when these so-called level-headed people also, they don't accept. My personal experience, when I try to, even a couple of days back, last week only, on Wednesday, I had a session in office about, I send you pictures, right? Stress management through Bhagavad Gita. I use 3 verses from Bhagavad Gita, and I said that if you understand these 3 verses, and I explained to some extent that you will be living very peaceful life. You will be able to easily manage stress in your life. And everybody was accepting there, and there were hardly few Indian people. Most of them were white, some of Mexican and black. So they were very appreciative of this. Many of them, they took pictures of my slides. Some of them, they asked my slides. And they said, can you please send me these slides? So it was really well appreciated. And I said, there was nothing about, no mention about religion or thing. I did mention about Krishna and Arjuna. I did mention that Krishna is God and he is the one who is directly giving instructions. So there is nothing I wanted to hide, but at the same time, it was not offensive as well. It was.
No, but if you see description of Krishna as Arjuna, it is not actually it is not just a name. There is a lot more in the description of the name Krishna itself. So it will not stick to any religion. You call it in any religion, the definition of Krishna will come as dark, etc., etc., etc. Arjuna, it will again come because it means focus in the shortest possible single word description. Arjuna is all about focus. That is why he was, and all his examples of Arjuna is Mala Dole Distat. Masa Disat nahi. So that has been, and see, fortunately or unfortunately, other educational systems have tried to corrupt us. But still, one good thing that I like is there has been no loan from a Hindu yet. A Sanatani has never made a lone wolf attack anywhere among all this violence.
So that's what I'm telling you. The people who follow this path, this way of life, no, that's ground them actually. They know how to live the life, and they are not unnecessary aggressive, unnecessary angry, all those things, shouting and all. And you see in the tech sector, majority of Indians are there, I can say, majority of things, and people are spreading. And I feel somehow with this rate, once the people are, the way the students are migrating from India, a big way actually, lakhs of students yearly going. The days are not far. I don't see immediately, but maybe going forward, it will be a very people will start adopting Hinduism actually in our way of life around the world.
Correct. They have to. Economics मध्ये एक marginal utility theory असतं माहिती आहे. When anything is practiced for too long, it loses its utility. आता Christianityचा तोच problem होतोय because they are seeing nothing. I mean, they are giving their money, they are saying Jesus, 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 पण मनाची शांती कधी मिळतच नाही. And the most disturbed Indian is still better off than the average American or the average Gora party or the Angrez parties. The reason is simply that their religion is not giving them what they are aspiring for. Whereas even non-believing Hindus, because at one point in time they have been cultured by the Mahabharata kind of a culture, they still have a little bit of peace in their minds. Maybe bad, maybe less, but they don't get seriously disturbed to go and shoot out at 25 people in the एवढं वेळ कोणालाही लागत नाही. The simple reason is that
Correct.
our culture is far beyond what we are today. Yes, maybe a mix of English education, some nonsense, some wokeism, but it is cultivated by something as old as the Mahabharata long back. Now you don't know it, but it is still, kind of driving you. कारण कितीही वेळवला तरी मी आज एक इंडियन कुठेही जाऊन एक ट्रक ठोकली कोणावर, म्हणजे एका क्राऊड मध्ये किंवा बॉम्ब घेऊन घुसला कुठे, असं कधीही
No, it
करत
is
नाही.
not like that. Nowhere.
They don't do it basically because it is, and the very fact that in all these महाभारताचं युद्ध आहे, पण आपण कोणाला अजून तरी कधी अटॅक केलेलं नाही. So that grounding of this thing is still continuing. We are losing it. We are doing our best to lose it. If we regain it back, we will be back to those old days.
No, the recent that movie, Oppenheimer movie is there, no? Oppenheimer. That some references are there and original.
Correct. Even now, see, people don't say it, but all of the nuclear or the scientific things are driven by the Vedas. They are hiding it. They are trying to claim credit for whatever it is. But basically, if you look at Vedanta, it is science. The science that they have declared and the science that Vedanta is are two different things. Because it is just progressing. And people are not willing to accept it is from there. If Einstein could do so many things, keeping the Vedas in mind, there are people who have publicly said that for anything, any scientific thing, I look at the Vedas. It is a question of non-acceptance of later cultures because of political reasons. But eventually this, what is gone will come back. That is the way. दुसरं उपायच नाहीये.
चलो, ठीक है, Prabhuji. I think
Yes.
we'll stop here today. I will take some rest.
Sure.
Okay.
And then, I have to get up early in the morning around 3:34 and then go there.
So what is the program?